Hi, Mr. Unkert here, and this video is going to cover what is I and some powers of I. So, what is I? Well, many define I squared as equal to negative 1. And I technically stands for an imaginary number. Now, imaginary numbers are actually used in real-world applications such as electrical engineering and complex numbers, satellite alignment with different planes with the complex number plane, and various quantum mechanics applications. Okay, so I squared, I is defined as I squared equals negative 1. Another way to think of it is I equals the principal square root of negative 1. Well, so you may be asking, why is that imaginary? Well, it's imaginary because you can't take the square root of a negative number. A square root tells you what number times itself equals the number under the square root sign. So, for instance, the square root of 4, the principal square root of 4, the positive one, is 2, because 2 times 2 equals 4. Okay? So you can't get a square root of negative 1, and the reason why you can't do that is because there is no number, positive or negative, that when multiplied by itself would equal negative 1 or any other negative number. So when you think about it, negative 1 times negative 1 is equal to positive 1, and 1 times 1, that first 1 got away from me a bit, is equal to also positive 1. You can't do a number times itself that equals negative 1. Hence, I is imaginary. So I can be used in complex numbers like 2 plus 3i, and so forth. All right? And sometimes I arised or came up when you did last year in Algebra 2 the quadratic formula, and you came up with a complex solution. So those were solutions to a quadratic that did not cross the x-axis. So if this is the x-axis here, and this is the y-axis, a quadratic that doesn't cross the x-axis has complex solutions. Okay. Looking at I, we're going to continue to explore I and powers of I. Okay, and those come up when you multiply complex numbers together. So again, I is the principal square root of negative 1. I squared we defined as equal to negative 1. Okay, but what is I cubed? Well, I cubed is negative 1 times the square root of negative 1, or I. So negative 1 times I, which is just negative I. Okay. I to the 4th power is equal to I cubed, so negative I, times I, which is negative I squared, which is equal to the negative of negative 1, which is equal to just positive 1. Okay, if we keep going, I to the 5th power is 1, so I to the 4th power, times I, which is just I. And you'll see this cycle starts to repeat. So you have I to the 6th power is equal to I to the 5th power, which is I, times I to the 1st power, which is also I. So you get I squared. So you get negative 1. And you'll see this pattern starts to repeat itself. So we have I to the 7th power is negative I, and then I to the 8th power is 1 again. So every fourth power of I, the cycle will repeat. So in today's assignment, you're going to have to do stuff where you look at, let's talk about I to the 50th power. What does that equal? Well, if we know our properties of exponents, we can break that apart into I to the 48th power. That's divisible by 4 exactly, times I squared. So anything divisible by 4 exactly is equal to 1. So I to the 4th is equal to 1, I to the 8th is equal to 1, I to the 12th would equal to 1. So 48 is divisible by 4. That's 4 times 12 is 48. So this is just 1 times I squared. And remember, I squared is negative 1. 1 times negative 1 is negative 1. Okay, let's continue. Let's do another one. Let's do I to the 99th power. Well, look, I to 99 is not divisible by 4, but 96 is. So that's I to the 96th power times I cubed. Okay, 96 plus 3 is 99, right? So that's basically 1 times I cubed, or I cubed, which is negative I. Okay, one more example. Let's do I to the 151st power. Okay, so you think 100 is divisible by 4, 48 is divisible by 4, so really 148 is divisible by 4. Let's just check that. So if we go 4 into 14, it goes 3 times, we've got 28 left over, so 4 times 37 is 148. So we get that times I cubed. So we got basically 1 times I cubed, so this is equal to I cubed, which is equal to negative I. So that's going to be how you're going to break apart your powers of I and find out what they're equal to. So remember to divide them by 4 and then multiply whatever that is, I to some power of 4 times whatever's left to make it I to the total power. And whatever is left is really what it's equal to. So I hope that helps and clears it up a bit. And have fun on the assignment today and talk to me in class or email me if you are having issues. Thank you for watching and have a great day.